Well, it wasn't even that quick. I think there was somebody in between too,
Yeah.
and probably somebody lined up for me afterwards. But I enjoyed more because I was running at such a pace. I don't think I was in one place long enough to get fired, if you know what I mean. But it was, I look back on it, this is what, 30 years, did you say?
30 years.
Oh my God. I look back on it now, and of all the things, you know, people say, I've been in the, you know, business long enough to be recognized as some kind of veteran. And, you know, they always say, well, what was your favorite film? And I always look back on The Right Stuff as something that was, that pleases me. It pleases me. I remember being on it and never having really a dull moment, because you're sitting around the set on, you know, in the middle of Edwards Air Force Base, and something weird would fly over. And some weird, strange, new test airplane of some sort. And everybody, without failure on the set, would stop what they were doing, even if you're in the middle of a scene, and go. It was unavoidable. And so it was a fun place to be. It was never dull. There's a certain, you know, beauty to the high desert, as I'm sure you're all aware, being Californians, and it's just magic with lovely light, and which is something that Caleb, who I had the best time with, because he was, I'd spent a lot of time with directors before this, people like Alan Parker and Ridley Scott, and light was a big thing for us. And, so when I teamed up with Caleb on this, he was just a joy to work with. It was important to him. Every shot had to be great. And I remember talking to Alan Parker after we'd seen the Natural, and he said, "Yeah, okay." He said, "Caleb, have you noticed?" He said, "We all like to shoot with backlight, but he manages to do it in the basic shots and the reverse shots." And I said, "Yeah, he does, and it looks great. He cheats." But we did some very interesting things with Caleb, and one of them was when we came to the studio doing all the aircraft, and we had pieces of aircraft. We had sections of the 104, and we had projection screens behind them for all the plates that Caleb went up at weekends when he was didn't have anything else to do, of course. He'd go up at the weekend and try and get clouds. And, you know, I said, "You get some clouds this weekend?" He said, "No." He said, "We went all the way to freaking Colorado." And so I got 2 shots. And this went on for about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. You know, he was not getting these shots. So just wrong time of the year for clouds, I guess. But those are the silly things that happen on the side. So when we came into the studio to do all this thing with these plate shots behind the camera, we were doing shots of the thing spinning, and of course in real life the sun, which is God's key light, is you're going round and it's going round, the light is going round you. So it's hard in the studio to turn, you know, both the back image and the thing itself and the camera. So he said, I want the key light to be on a 20, you know, 30 feet to the grid. He said, like a 24-foot arc. I said, I want this 10K, which is the key light, which is 10K is a big light, to go around on a track. Can you do it? I said, when for? He said, I think we have to do it by next Monday. It was like Thursday. So I said, let me get back to you. And we talked it over with the special effects guys, and one of the big trick was finding a track for it to go on. So they found this guy in the East Bay who could actually bend in an arc aluminum I-beam. And they did this over the weekend, and they came back on Monday, bolted it all together, made a track for the thing to go around. And Caleb says, it's got to go around in 10 seconds, a full lap. Well, 24 feet, well, how big's 24 feet? It's about, you know, about the width of this cinema almost. Thereabouts, give or take. Circle. And it's a 10K, which weighs, I don't know what it weighs, but it's
probably a couple hundred, right?
Yeah, it's probably 200 pounds. And it's going round in 10 seconds. So that's giving the light, he's being photographed here, and the sun's going around him. Because it's easier to do that than spin John Glenn that quick, or Jaeger, whoever.
That weekend solution you talk of, though, was an afterthought to what had been at least 3 months prep for another way that didn't.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know why, but there are a lot of useless gimbals made in this industry. Anyway, that was Caleb wanting to get the right light effect, and I think if you look at that film and you look at the close-ups of the guys in the capsules and in the aircraft, I think you don't need to. You buy it. I think that they're doing whatever they're meant to be doing. So that was just Caleb's magic.
Yeah, Rory, could you tell us about your job and how how you gather information from department heads before you location scout? I assume you have to kind of get what the production designer requires, what the DP requires, the director.
On this picture, initially, it was primarily just with designer and director. There was a long prep on the right stuff. I mean, up until recently, for me, I've done several, I've been doing it for 30 some odd years now. It held the record for, it was like 18 months of involvement for me on the right stuff. And a big chunk of that was in the preparation before we even rolled anything. So it was really coming off of the 2 briefs from the designers, and then, once they started building the film, I mean, once construction and dailies began, then what do you say here? We were scrambling to get to what each department head would need, because for the wardrobe on this was just, you know, with the uniforms and just getting them dressed and stuff like that was pretty involved. And the art department's requirements. And the big one here too is that we were always getting information. Phil had this huge library of stock footage, right? And we would prep and prep and prep, and all of a sudden, okay, the one that came to me very fresh was every time you're looking up and you'd see a parachute, right, with a capsule underneath it. You're looking up at the orange and white, usually. We prepped that how many times? I mean, we were going out into Half Moon Bay. We were going to do it there. We were going to do it at Hamilton Air Base. And we'd be just at the point, and we'd have to figure out how we were going to shoot this, how to do it, and all the logistics. And we would just get it prepped. And Phil would come and he had seen a new reel last night. He goes, "We don't need it. We don't need it. I got it. It's in the stock footage." And that happened to us numerous times. The other thing is that Phil was a director, or is a director, who writes his way out of situations. He writes his way out of problems. And for example, the scenes where they're in the Cow Palace and then Eric Severide and all of that, Phil was writing that in the back of the van because he had cast that he didn't know that he had, or that he was told he didn't have, and various things like this. And he would be very much, we'd go scouting and Phil would say, you know, guys, I'm going to sit in the back. You know, the director's usually in the front, but he says, can I have the back seat because I'm working? And he's literally writing tomorrow's dialogue. So there was a real kind of shoot off the hip point, especially at the end of the shooting schedule, where Phil is literally writing tomorrow's work for us.